Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, it is time for another one here. This is Brian Arnold here and this is the Authority Project. I have my new good friend here, Matt Pierce. He is here and he says he's going to help us grow, maintain, and retain your customers using video. Is that right, Matt?
That is absolutely right, Brian.
Well, we shall see. We shall see on this current episode of the Authority Project.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, feast your eyes and tune your ears. It's that time again. We are live with another episode of The Authority Project. It's the video podcast streamed on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and Periscope, where we talk to digital marketers, business coaches, and creators of all kinds on how they've built authority in their field and how you can mimic their success. Developing authority, building your audience, and attracting better clients to your own business. Now, without further ado, let's bring to the virtual stage your host, Brian S. Arnold.
All right, and we are back on another one, folks. It is the Authority Project. You are the project, and you want to slap authority to your name so you can sell more of what you're great at. And we have Matt Pierce coming to the virtual stage. How are you doing today, sir?
I'm doing very well. Thank you.
Great. I am so excited to have you here because we have a true video expert. It's so funny. Well, I'm going to get into this later, but it's so funny to have a video expert here because you can really just get into the weeds and just ask a whole bunch of questions that go on and on and on. We don't have that kind of time, but we're going to try to do our best here and get as much information to you as possible. Matt, let's get right into it. First of all, who you are personally and then professionally.
Yeah. So my background is interesting. I didn't start off in video. I actually started off in creating training. So my background is learning to be an instructional designer, which really focuses on things. Usually instructional designers are creating like training inside your organization for like a corporation, like it might be safety training, HR training, that kind of stuff. And I found myself at a position at a tech company that makes software, that makes videos. And I quickly had to learn how to make tutorial how-to videos using their product, which is called Camtasia. And from there, I've been a manager and led multiple teams creating customer education. I've been in marketing, creating social media and PR content. And now I find myself in this interesting position where I'm leading a kind of this position that is like crossing all of those boundaries of saying like, yeah, let's create helpful content. It's not about the product. It's not about specifically what the tools that we make, but it's about helping people be successful at things like video and using images, whether they're doing training or educating or marketing or whatever they're doing. We've got content we're creating to help them to be successful.
Great stuff. Great stuff. So is there a current project that you're working on right now, Matt? May I ask?
I am. So we've got, I'm sure we'll talk about this throughout, but we've got what's called the TechSmith Academy, which is that it's an online learning platform where we teach these things. And my latest project has been going through and looking at all the content we have and starting to develop our plans for more. So looking at like, what videos do we need to make? What things do we need to teach people about? And so just really, it's a lot about organization at this point, but we've got plans for some really great content. We're working with some creators as well as creating our own content to really fill those needs and help people be successful.
I love it. So last question before we dive in real quick. What is your daily routine, Matt? What does that look like?
My daily routine. So I wake up, I usually kind of check through everything on my phone, which I know I shouldn't do, but I do it anyway. I spend 5 to 10 minutes in some personal kind of reflection meditation. And my faith, I pray, and then I get up and get ready for the day, shower, shave, that kind of stuff. And then it's, I found a routine. This is silly, but every day for about 3 months now, I've been eating oatmeal with an apple in it. Man, that just kicks off my day with good nutrition. And then I'm into the work, and and then it just varies depending on the day, what I'm doing, what kind of projects, what needs are, and then I usually try to end my day in a kind of similar fashion with spent some time in reflection, and usually I'll catch up on all the tech news and things like that for the day.
Awesome. Keep you in tune with the ins and outs of the world, right?
Absolutely. Got to know what's going on.
Yeah. Let's go back to the oatmeal into an apple. What is that again?
So I take a bowl of oatmeal, right? It's a tablespoon of hemp seed, which is it's a seed. It's a nutty type of seed. I cut up an apple, I make my oatmeal, put the apple in, with a tablespoon of brown sugar, and I tell you what, it keeps you full for a long time. It's healthy. It's not too many calories, so it's good for you.
I like that because I'm trying to get off of specifically right now milk and bread, and that's been a struggle. Let me tell you something. Trying to not be hungry because I didn't realize how much of that is my diet, as a filler. So that's great. I'm gonna have to try that. So let's get right into it. What is there? Okay, let me get the scenario to you. So most people on here are solopreneurs. So they're one person. They'll have one laptop. Probably most likely a Mac. Because even though in the Mac, the camera is not great. It's awful.
It is not. It is not great.
So I got a camera, but but a lot of people, aren't able to start off with like that. So how do we start getting into video to make it really look good?
Well, the thing is, if all you have is a Mac and that's really all you have, you just go with it, right? Don't let that quality stop you from being successful, because in my mind, here's the thing: make helpful content. Make content that is going to help your audience connect with you. And a lot of times I lean towards help because that's my background, but I think it's a good general advice for everybody. If you're making helpful stuff that's going to make someone successful, you're going to make them more money. They can eat it, whatever it might be. There's what's called Maslow's hierarchy of needs. If you're fulfilling some of those needs that they have, they're going to love it, even if the quality is not great. However, let me just say this. We are so blessed to live in the time that we do. We have studios in our pocket. If you have a smartphone, there is so much you can do. In fact, I've had a couple colleagues at my organization reach out to me like, hey, what are you doing? How do you get, such good quality? Or what can I do? I don't have a lot of money. Like, you got a smartphone? Because there are apps that you can put on, if it's Android or iOS, that will connect to tools on your computer that you can use that as your camera. Or you can just skip your camera, or you can skip your Mac and just, I'm not a fan of selfie videos, but I can do this. I can hold it. I can make a selfie video or put this on a tripod. There's an app actually that I like called Filmic, Filmic. It does cost money. So it's like $10-15, but man, there's so many cool things you can do with that. And I think it's both Android and iOS. I know it's iOS for sure, but just those apps, they will enhance not only what this camera can do, but they have other things that they're built to do that will enhance it, right? Like that one, you can set your focus, you can easily zoom, you can see if it's like, you can white balance, which the normal camera doesn't do. So there's some pretty cool things. But if that's all you have, you can make some great content. I mean, we've got filmmakers now using Apple devices, and Apple, they like to tout that because that's, it's their thing. But you got filmmakers who can make really awesome films. So at that point, it's not about the quality. It's about learning to share your message and tell the story that you want to tell. And that story, and I say story, and I mean that very broadly. It's like, if you're trying to convince people to invest in you as a solopreneur, well, tell them the story of why. If you're trying to help them be successful so they subscribe, give them a good how-to or give them a good help message. If you're just trying to solve some problems, talk about those problems. It's really less about the camera and the equipment anymore. It's about telling good stories, having a good message, being useful, because otherwise, like if I'm making a message and it's not relevant to you as my audience, who cares? Like, they're going to tune out. There's too many other distractions, too many other things that they have to worry about.
Yeah. You're spot on. Cause I always say to, my students, like the content will carry you. And I was just looking on YouTube the other day, and sometimes you just go to YouTube for entertainment purposes. And there's this one girl there called Trendy Topic Tiff, and she does just like little funny skits, and they're all on her phone. They're not landscape. They're all on her phone. And I'm watching this, and I'm not the only one. She's getting like, 500,000 views and that kind of thing. It's just like, so if the content is good, I always say this even about podcasting. It's like, if Gary Vee was on a train with all types of noise, would you still listen to it for valuable information? Of course you would.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So I like how you start off with that. It is about the content. Great. So with video though, let's stop first, because I should have actually this first. Why is it important that you're saying that when you're doing this, it's going to help, video is going to help you grow, maintain your customers? Why is that important? Because, well, you tell me. You go first, and I'll see if I can concur.
Well, look, I mean, I think hopefully it's evident, right? Like those are things you want to do with your business. If you're a solopreneur, you're trying to grow. And once you got an audience, you want to hang on to them, and you got to maintain them. You got to retain them for the long term. So, because we know it's more going to be more expensive to go out and get those new customers. So if you can build your audience and build your base, that's going to be helpful. And video is really good because you might put out a video that you're thinking like, I'm going to attract new eyeballs. And we do this we're doing this all the time. In fact, our TechSmith Academy that is what it is, right? Like we want to attract new people that are thinking about doing video, and it may not be their job to do video, but we want to help them to be successful. And if they're successful at that, what we would then hope is that they need a tool, and we have a tool, Camtasia, that can help them make video. But in the long run, we have long customers, and TechSmith is an old company. I like to call them an old startup. We're like 30 years, 30 plus years in tech industry.
Yeah.
But those customers, we see that the same customers, like even though we're kind of focused on the acquisition of new customers, the ones that have been around for 20 years, 30 years, they're using that content too. And so in one kind of process, we create a video about how to write scripts, for instance.
Yeah. We
can help people that are like, oh, I need to do this. I've never done this before. And oh, now I've got a tool. Even the tool has nothing to do with scripts. It's all about like the video editor and screen recording, but we can help them to maintain like, oh, cool, this is going to really help me. And then those long-term customers, they need that as well, because not everyone, but most people using Camtasia, their job title isn't video editor. It is trainer, it is salesperson, it is marketer, it is something else, and it has nothing to do with actually using video, but they've learned that, and they decided that video is a key piece of that. So I think that the videos are great to help you along that path. And not every video will be able to do that. You might need to make different videos for different parts of the funnel, but it's, you're going to make that connection just like this. Like, Brian, we'd never talked before today, but yet we've made a connection. We talked about Columbus. We talked about the Ohio State, Boston College, Detroit. Like we made these connections that could we do that on the phone? Sure. But I feel like we're much more connected because we can see each other. You can see that body language. You can see the expression. You can hear it. It's a powerful medium in those regards.
I had a question about the scripts and storyboards and those kind of things. Why is that necessary? Can't we just wing it? Why is it necessary to be so structured? When people are like, you should be imperfect, but why be scripted? Why do the storyboard kind of thing?
I think it totally depends on the type of video that you're making, right? Like I think for like a conversation, it's really hard to script. An interview, it's really hard to script. However, there are going to be times when you want to control that message. And not only do you want to control the things that are said, so you're saying the right things and you don't miss anything, and maybe it's an order kind of issue. If you're doing teaching somebody a complex tool or something like that, you don't want to have a thing and be like, oops, I forgot to tell them about that. So I think in that case, a script is really helpful. The other thing is there's lots of theories about video length. Some people tell you, oh, keep it super short. Some people say it's okay. It's okay to be really long. And I think it's all dependent on topic, relevance, and what your audience is in. Or control that message really well. You can control that length. And in that sense, it also then becomes easier to edit. Like script will be easier to edit because the pacing, the pieces, things like, oh gosh, I said that and it wasn't the best way. I stumbled or I had a sneeze. I can much more easily cut that out than if it's just random. Like this, if you go edit, I talk fast, it might be hard to catch one of those pieces in between to make it like without snipping off part of the words at the beginning or the end or something like that. So I think not everything needs a script. I do recommend outlines like, hey, these are the types of things I want to talk about. But if you've got the time and you want it to be a controlled focus message, scripts are really helpful. It's the old quote. It gets attributed to a lot of people. I always heard it attributed to Mark Twain. I did not have time to write you a short letter, so I wrote you a long one. And so, you're going to get a much more concise, more focused video at the end if you have a script and storyboard. But then again, if you're really good, your topic, I do, much like we do here, I do interview shows. I do, sometimes I'll be just me talking about a topic, and I can do those, and I don't need a script because I'm fairly fluent in the topics I'm talking about.
Great. I'm glad you said that, because I can already see now that the teacher in you, it just shines like right away, Matt. It just really does.
Thank you.
How do you get people to get to that point of presentation? Is it just practice? Is it just years of practice that you just know how to present? You know how to show people in a certain way. Is there methods that you've used or that you learned from that you can show us right now, or how you present in any way?
Yeah, it's a really good question, because it becomes very meta for me to think about, because I've been doing this for a long time. I actually started a streaming show back in 2010. No one was streaming in 2010. It didn't last for very long.
Yeah.
And we were doing a weird cadence. But so first of all, I've had a lot of practice, right? And I think there's no substitute for practice. And I think just turning on the camera, because here's what happens. Let's talk about this. First of all, people turn on the camera and what happens? They're like, oh my gosh. That thing, I have to look at myself. I have to look at the red light. I have to look at the lens. What is going on?
Right.
So there's no substitute for practicing talking to a camera. I think from a presentation standpoint, if you've done live presentations in person, you know what it's like to look at your audience, focus on your audience. So there's a couple things. I think picturing and thinking about the person behind the camera is really important. There's a great individual. She's on YouTube, Amy Landino. She's an author. She's done lots of videos. Go find her stuff.
I know her.
We interviewed, oh, you know Amy's, perfect.
Yeah.
We interviewed Amy for the TechSmith Academy, and one of the things that she talked about is her persona of Charlotte. And Charlotte is her audience, right? And when she looks at the lens, she knows exactly who she's talking to. So everything gets filtered through that persona of, she's like, what would Charlotte want to know? How would I talk to Charlotte? What would I say in this situation? What questions would Charlotte have? Another one, and if you're feeling a little camera shy, is thinking about how do I picture that person behind the lens? And, Tim Schmoyer is another person we interviewed for that same series, talked about well, you could put a picture of somebody right beneath your camera, so that you could see a face. So you're not just talking to this fisheye lens.
Okay.
I think ultimately it comes back to feeling confident about yourself, which is hard to do. There's so many things in the world that say, here's why you shouldn't be confident, right? So I think oh, you're not good enough. You're not smart enough. You don't know anything. I think it's taking time to believe that your message is really important. And that's one of the reasons I love my job, is because, I will sell you the product all day long, but my primary job is to make you successful. And as I focus on that, I love that you said oh, your teacher's coming out. That makes my heart feel full because I love that, because that's what I want to do. What I really want to do is help people. Do I believe in the products that we sell at TechSmith? Absolutely. I found great success with them. I know many other people have. That makes it easy. But I think you just got to really believe that your message is important and it's really going to make a difference in that person's life. Now, you might be, if someone's out there watching this or listening and saying, well, I'm trying to sell them a marketing thing, well, how's that going to change their life? Is that going to make them more successful? That maybe make them more money so they can have more time with their family, or whatever it is that their goal is. And I think that will really help. And then one more thing about presenting I think is really important is energy. Yeah. I probably turn it on too much, but here's the thing. When the camera's on, I'm slightly different Matt Pearson you'll see when you're just talking with me. I'm actually a pretty shy person. I'm at conferences or events, I'm a quiet guy. I'm
just like that.
with the camera, you have to turn it up a little bit, because it the camera just kind of diffuses some of it. It's not that you're not who you are. It's just I just want to take that volume and turn it up a little bit, projection a little bit, energy a little bit, because the camera is going to diffuse it. Not going to be it's going to take it down a notch. And so you got to compensate for that. But then again, you want some enthusiasm, because you want people to know what you're saying is exciting, it's interesting, and you're not trying to fake anybody out. You're not trying to be someone you're not. Be you +2 or so, maybe 3, maybe 5, depending on what you're doing. I think it's something that I found that's been really helpful, that I've got my on-camera persona who is really the same person, just amplified a little bit.
I totally agree with that wholeheartedly. I am just like that. I'm introverted, and I tell people like, what you see here is totally different than what you'll see in person. It's a totally different person, really, to be honest. So I'm gonna give you the almighty question that always comes up. Tell us about lighting. Now, don't get too far in the weeds, but tell us about lighting, because I think, it's always an issue. I don't like the lighting that I have right now. I think it's awful right now. I don't know what to do with it. I do have the lights. I do have my lighting kit. I haven't put it together yet. But tell us, what's the basic premise? I want to say premise. The basic foundation of some type of good lighting. How about that?
Okay. Tough question. It's a good question. It's an important question.
Yeah.
It's tough because it's hard without being able to show, right? Like it's one that it's because it's a visual thing. But here's what I found success with is, first of all, let me just caveat this and say, I think if you're starting out, the order of operations for getting good quality is you start with microphone and audio, then you do lighting, and then you worry about your camera. Because with our smartphone, as we talked about, so it's our middle step, right? Like we've got a good microphone, we sound good. Now let's add some lighting. I think there's a lot of options, and we're in a time when there's more options ever available than there's ever been in the past. So for me, I think one of the key things is I know people don't want to spend money to get lights. They want to spend like $50.
Yeah.
You can do it. Like for a long time, I just had, those can metal, like kind of, you put a bulb in it and you plug it in and you can clamp them wherever, like workshop lights.
Right.
I used those for a little bit and it was okay. It was better than nothing.
Yeah.
The thing, you can use a window if that's all you have. The idea is you want to have enough light so there's not too much shadow. A little bit of shadow is okay. In fact, I just did an episode of the live stream that I do, and I had my lights off. And it made it kind of a little bit darker, a little bit more mysterious, and it was okay. But you want enough light to kind of so you can be seen clearly. The next thing is you want it to be somewhat even. This is the problem with using a window is the light fluctuates. If a cloud comes by, the daylight is fading because the sun is setting, depending on your recording time, it's going to change. So that makes it harder, and your camera's going to have to adjust for it. The thing is, then if you can get lights that will you can set the color temperature. This is really helpful. And it's going to be different. And Brian, I'm just going to look off at your screen. The color temperature is going to be very different based on skin tone that you want to set. And I'm not an expert at what color temperature should be what, but your skin tone being darker is going to need a different color temperature than mine. And I tend to just be, let's face it, I'm just red. So I'm
gonna try to change some colors right now. See if I can change it.
Yeah, right. Actually, go back to the more blue. Like that looks to me that looks better on my screen at least.
This one here.
So
or this one.
And a lot of this is preference. So you're gonna have to decide what works best for you and what you feel like looks good for you.
Yeah.
But so I've got two lights right here, and I got them off of Amazon, about $250. They're LED panels. And they've got color temperature, so I can sync them, so they're going to be the same. And then I actually, from a brightness standpoint, I think they're both set to right now about 13% brightness, so it's really actually quite low. I think a common mistake people make is they put too much light and they kind of blow things out. The other thing I found that I've added recently that I think has been interesting is I put some lights behind me that are, we'll call them, in the industry, they call them practical lights. They're not doing anything, but what they're giving me is depth, right? It's giving me separation. And I see Germany says it's, not blue, Brian. It's not a good look on you. You'll have to decide what looks best for you.
Yeah.
But the idea is you got to play with it, right? And then you're like, if you have one or two lights, you're going to have to adjust them to get your shadows right. And it's a lot of trial and error. And ask your audience, does this look better? Which they've already told us something that didn't look good. And then determine for yourself, like, am I comfortable with where I am right now? In fact, if you don't mind, I can show you what this looks like if we'll play with lights, right? Because just to give you an idea, and I've got mine set up to a smart plug. So it's just, it's nice and easy, so I'll turn off my lights. So it's different, right? Like, does this look bad? My camera's going to adjust. It's not terrible, but I think it looks a little bit better with my lights on, right? So
Interesting. Very
with your
interesting.
lighting, just have some lighting. You can get there's lots of options on Amazon, even at a cheaper range. I like these particular ones. A lot of people are using ring lights now, and ring lights can be nice. What you also want to probably do is put diffusion, which is like
Yeah.
that clear, it's like a frosted color
Mm.
on your lights. It's going to,
Okay.
have you ever been to a hotel where they do that and they have a
Yeah.
mirror with the light in it
Yeah.
and it's
Yeah.
frosted like that? The
Yeah.
reasons they do that, for anyone that's watching, it's because when it lights up, it's a really soft light, which looks good. It removes wrinkles. So,
Oh.
there's a vanity play in there. They want you to look
Yes.
good in their hotel.
Yes.
So that
Yes.
diffusion helps just make the light a little bit softer, makes it a little bit more even. So lighting is something you'll just have to play with. I can tell you, we actually have one of our courses. Again, these are all free in the TechSmith Academy. We talk about 3-point lighting and some basic kind of setup stuff for that. It's pretty straightforward. There's obviously lots of things on YouTube, but in the movie industry, which we're not trying to be, just remember there's whole teams that their whole job is to figure out lighting. So, just do your best with it. You don't have to have a whole Hollywood team to make you look pretty good.
Yeah. And I just want to let's dive back before we wrap up here about why this is so important. I know there's a big surge right now going back into audio with Clubhouse and all those other ones trying to emulate that type of medium. But with video, as you going through your funnels and starting to build your courses, and can you tell us why that is such a big thing as far as perceived value when you're doing video instead of just like going to a landing page and it's just writing and that kind of thing?
Yeah, it's what a great observation. Audio is definitely making this huge play right now, right? Clubhouse and now every social media platform with its own Clubhouse competitor.
Right.
But I think and there's a place for all of these. Like, I'm not saying video should replace all your writing on your webpage, but what I think it can do is it's a great supplement. And here's the thing. You could set up scheduled demos all day long with people and still never reach as many people as one video on your webpage. It's an on-demand medium, so people can come and see the thing that you're talking about. So let's say you've got a piece of software. That's where I work and live all the time. I can make videos. If I can show you those things, that's really powerful, right? You can just come to the webpage and you can see it in action. You can see what it really looks like. The other thing is there's video. Like, I love, Brian, that I can see you. I can make that connection with who you are as a person. And there's lots of subtle things, right? Like, I get to see your space that you're in. I get to see that, your background. I get to see you and the friendly countenance that you're bringing to the show. I get to hear your awesome questions. And this combination of seeing and hearing, kind of taking in all the space, gives a lot of information that you can use to your advantage to help you connect with your audience. The other thing is, I'll say that you're taking advantage of this dual encoding, which is what your brain is doing as you hear audio and see picture, right? And there's some limitations to that. You have to be careful with music because, an audio, like a voice track, a music track, it can get overwhelming. But all of a sudden you're describing to me what's happening and you're showing me those things. That's really powerful. And occasionally you're bringing yourself or whoever, a person on screen, and you're making that human connection. Like, Brian's real, Matt's real. That's hopefully someone is watching this scene like, oh yeah, I feel really comfortable with those guys. You can see Matt's energy, or you can see Brian's cool chillness about how energetic Matt is, right? Like,
right.
And I think those things are really powerful. And it's hard to do that with just audio. It's really hard to do that with text. And frankly, some of the things I can do in a 2-minute video, I can get way more information across using those two mediums than I can just in writing. And then you can even say, well, some of these things are complex. It's really hard to write about the complex motion or movement or whatever it might be when I can just show you.
I hate instructional guys now that are just writing. I can't do it. I need to see video all the time now. So yeah.
Put something together, that's some kind of piece of furniture together. I just did this and I was reading the instructions and these poorly drawn like images, like, where does that go? Right. And I'm like, guys, we just need to watch a video. To my kids, like, let's just watch a video on what they do and see how they actually, these things go together. And it's easier to watch. one thing I'll say about YouTube in that particular sense is that, you can go to Google and you can find these written instructions all day long, SEO, right? They're incorporating more video into Google, but you go to YouTube and it's not just a great place for entertainment. It's a huge place for how-to. And that's a great way. If a solopreneur, you can stand out by being that person that's providing that help on YouTube, which I really call the number one how-to engine.
Oh, definitely. Absolutely. I'm on there every day. Every day. Now, Matt, before we get to our last question, I would be remiss if I didn't ask you about a great starter camera, should I say, that you might recommend.
Well, it depends on probably price point, what you think for startup. Again, what I would say is you got to look at your budget and look, I just read reviews. I go out to YouTube, watch videos about what other people are using. I'll tell you what I'm using and price point wise. So I'm using a Sony A6400 with a 16 millimeter lens. It's become my default camera for everything I do from a web base, whether that's Zoom meetings to live streaming to recording, internal share out videos for my company. Price point, I think it was around $1,400, all things together. Yeah. And that includes going into an Elgato 4K eCam, or not eCam. I can't remember what the little stick is so I can get the HDMI in, right? Like, so that's a chunk of change. So not everyone's going to want to spend that. Again, I really believe in the progressive model here, that you start with what you got, whether that's your webcam in your camera, even if it's in your computer, even if it's not great, go to your phone. And then if you're still feeling like you want to progress, go find an option that's in that $600 range. It's going to cost. It's just going to cost some money, but there's like Panasonic's got some stuff. I know Canon's got the M50 that I think is I've heard is pretty good. Again, it's going to cost you, as soon as you get adding lenses, your price is going to go up and up and up. However, that being said, the quality speaks for itself. You can do, if you don't want to just do live kind of in your webcam stuff, you can take that out, put it on a tripod. You could film almost anywhere.
Sounds great. All right, last question. This has been awesome, man. I'm really floored by your knowledge right now. So, last question. There are people out there who have similar goals, similar interests, maybe similar journeys as you have, and they want to do what you're doing, Matt. They want to be like Matt. So, can you tell them in your own words, and I'll put you front and center, how they can become an authority in this space?
So, if you want to become an authority in the video space, first things first is you got to go and learn about video. Take the time to make videos. Make videos for all the things that you're trying to do. Share out videos. Make videos inside your company that are just small. You don't think a big deal about them, but work on progressively getting better day by day. Learn the small things. You don't have to make Hollywood videos to be an expert in this space, but what you do have to do is learn some basics. And one of the ways you can do that is actually going to the TechSmith Academy to learn about some of those basics and then go from there, because video inherently is a creative medium. And the more that you can learn those small little things, those foundational skills and attributes, the more creative, the more exciting, the more engaging, the more informational type videos you're going to be able to make. And that's all it is, just day by day, putting into practice what you're learning about making videos.
There you go. Then you got it from the expert, guys. Awesome, fantastic, man. So please tell them where they should go after the show to find you or find where you teach.
Yeah. So first and foremost, I already mentioned TechSmith Academy. That's at academy.techsmith.com. That's got tons of great information, all free. If you want to connect with me personally, I am on LinkedIn as Matthew R. Pierce. You can find me there. On Twitter as Pierce MR, or pretty much anywhere else as Pierce MR. That's kind of my handle. And I would encourage everybody to check out, we've got a podcast that we're talking about this stuff all the time called The Visual Lounge on all your favorite podcast platforms. Easy for you to say, Brian, not for me. But.
Very nice. Very nice. And if you jump down there, she also has a discount code called the Authority Pro J10 to get 10% off TechSmith in Camtasia. So I appreciate that as well. We'll put that in the comments below, of course. And people, this has been great. I mean, I am amazed of your knowledge and your teaching and your strategies for us. So this has been awesome. You've what do you say? You've not failed. How about that?
Good. That's a success then. I didn't fail.
There you go. There you go. So people, as I always say, go to myauthorityletter.com, join that list, build your authority platform. I got a 3-part video series actually there. And I also give weekly real talk letters every Saturday night about the online digital industry. Get on that and be amazed there as well. All right. And I also want to also plug you in to help my friend. Go to helpmeg.com. She is a fellow creator, fellow videographer, actually, and she's a coffee roaster. She had an unforeseen mountain bike accident that almost paralyzed her. She's recovering, but I want to help her out with her hospital bills, and she's continuing to recover and trying to keep her business afloat. So if you have any heart to give, go there now, helpmeg.com. Thank you so much. And I am done for now. Unless you have any final words, Matt, we can get out of here.
Brian, thank you so much for having me. It's just been a pleasure to talk with you. Thanks for great questions.
Oh, I'm honored, sir. Thank you so much for that. And as I say, people, build it, share it, and they will come. We'll see you next time. We're out of here.
And that's a wrap for this episode of The Authority Project. Thanks so much for tuning in. And if you like what you heard, we want to hear from you. Subscribe, rate, and give an honest review. Share and tell your friends so they can hear too. And for even more authority building tactics, be sure to sign up at theauthorityletter.com. Get free weekly content and ongoing digital product giveaways to help you on your entrepreneurial journey. We certainly hope you got a key takeaway or maybe an aha moment from today's broadcast. Just remember, it's your authority. Build it, share it, and they will come. Until next time.